What if your toys came to life when you weren't looking? This question is the premise of Toy Story, the first computer-animated feature film ever made. As we enter this world, we meet Woody the Cowboy doll, Andy's favorite toy, and Buzz Lightyear, a delusional Space Ranger action figure that quickly becomes Andy's new favorite toy. With this tension mounting, we go on a journey with Woody and Buzz. A journey of self-discovery. A journey so full of truth that by the time we reach the end, we see that although they're only toys, Woody and Buzz are just as human as you and me.
Mix a story with the laboratory, get a story laboratory.
Part of the reason we identify with characters in any story, not just Toy Story, is the way they transform from beginning to end. What did they learn along the way, and how have they changed for better or worse? This is what we call a character's arc. They start off one way, they end up another way, and it's the journey we take with them over the course of the story that's really, really important. Regardless of how groundbreaking and innovative Toy Story was on the technology side, and trust me, it was breaking all kinds of ground, the storytelling gives us a new spin on a story that's been told many, many times before, because Toy Story is a buddy film. Think of a buddy film as a romance without the romance, a bromance, if you will, in which two characters who generally either hate each other's guts or get on each other's nerves are stuck with each other for whatever reason and must ultimately learn that they can't live without each other. You've seen this from Pixar a few times, from Disney, and of course, this kind of story isn't limited to animation. In order to start digging into the characters of Woody and Buzz and see how they're changing over the course of the story, there are a few questions we can ask ourselves. What is the character's normal world? What is he proud of? What is his fear? And what is his internal problem? Let's start with our protagonist, or main character, Woody. From the moment Woody comes to life, we see that he's the leader of Andy's toys. He's kind to his friends and peers, but he's clearly comfortable at the top. We see this in the way he leads the meeting early on, and the way he gives orders.
I don't want any toys left behind. I'm moving, buddy. If you don't have one, get one.
Another important element is that Woody is Andy's favorite toy. We hear this from other toys a few times and see it all over the room.
Of course Woody ain't worried. He's been Andy's favorite since kindergarten.
This question is important to answer because when we know what a character's proud of, we know what they're afraid to lose. If Woody has everything he could ever want, what could he possibly be afraid of? Being replaced. We see a number of toys expressing this fear, especially with Andy's birthday party, bringing the possibility of newer, better toys.
I just don't think I can take that kind of rejection.
Woody is actually the one who shrugs this off and reassures the other toys that this will never happen, but we soon learn that he fears being replaced more than anyone. A character's internal problem is something they will never admit and might not even know about, but is ultimately their tragic flaw. For Woody, we'll come to see that when his fear is realized, he'll act on his jealousy. Now, what's the absolute worst thing that could happen to a toy leader who has the fear of being replaced? The arrival of Buzz Lightyear, a newer, cooler toy that everyone takes a liking to, especially and notably Andy. This is what we call the Inciting Incident, or catalyst, an event that flips our main character's world upside down completely. The rug's been snatched from under Woody and we soon see his true colors emerge. Before things get too ugly, let's take a step back. What's going on with Buzz? In his world, Buzz is a space ranger charged with the epic duty of defending the galaxy from the evil Emperor Zurg. This galactic responsibility to act as a hero is something he takes great pride in. And to top things off, Buzz really isn't afraid of anything, which leads into his internal problem, delusion and denial.
I protect the galaxy from the threat of invasion from the evil Emperor Zurg, sworn enemy of the Galactic Alliance.
The worst thing that could possibly happen to a character like Buzz is a double dose of reality, which we'll come back to later. So we've got this unlikely pair that really butt heads from the beginning. Woody takes pride in being Andy's favorite, but Buzz doesn't even have to try to become the new favorite. Everyone is flocking to Buzz, and Andy is starting to replace his cowboy stuff with space stuff. We can now see more clearly than ever that Woody, who is pushed by his jealousy and fear of being replaced, feels compelled to take action. When Andy is told he can only take one toy to Pizza Planet, Woody tries to knock Buzz behind the dresser so he can be the one that gets picked. However, things don't go according to plan and he knocks Buzz out the window.
Buzz!
Now, we're gonna fast forward a little bit here. Through a series of mishaps and adventures that involve both Woody and Buzz getting left behind at a gas station and trying to make it back to Andy's house, our not-so-friendly buddies end up getting trapped at Sid's house right next door, which is known for being a place toys never return from.
You guys don't get it, do you? Once we go into Sid's house, we won't be coming out.
In two very important scenes, both Woody and Buzz separately reach a moment of clarity in a very important story beat that we call All Is Lost. In a 3-act story structure, this happens right at the end of Act 2, when a character reaches their absolute lowest point. What really helps communicate this moment is when our storytellers choose to place our characters in a physically low setting to make it really hit home that we've reached our lowest point. For Buzz, this moment arrives when he stumbles upon a commercial for the Buzz Lightyear action figure on one of Sid's family TVs. Determined to make one leap of faith and prove that he is what he believes himself to be, Buzz jumps toward a window in an attempt to fly and instead falls hopelessly to the ground below, his reality and plastic body shattered. He's just an insignificant little toy after all. Remember what we said would be the worst possible thing to happen to a character like Buzz? A double dose of reality. He's not a space ranger, and the fate of the galaxy doesn't depend on him after all. Woody's All Is Lost moment comes a bit later, when he finds himself pinned under a plastic crate next to Buzz, who is strapped to a rocket, awaiting the same fate as Combat Carl from earlier on. At his wit's end and left with nothing else to lose, Woody admits to Buzz that Buzz is a worthy successor as Andy's new favorite toy, and he's been grappling with his fate ever since Buzz arrived. Buzz is a cool toy, after all.
As a matter of fact, you're too cool. I mean, what chance does a toy like me have against a Buzz Lightyear action figure?
In a way, just like Buzz had to be shaken out of his delusion, Woody comes to terms with his own delusion that things will never change and that he'll always be treasured as Andy's favorite. The reality is that change is inevitable, and time is always moving forward. These are themes that we'll see present throughout the entirety of the Toy Story trilogy, and this commitment to one powerful idea is part of what I think makes Toy Story one of the greatest movie trilogies ever, not just in animation. Although Toy Story 4 is coming soon, so technically it won't be a trilogy anymore, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there. Woody and Buzz have finally learned that they need each other, because they've pulled each other back down to earth in their own way and have taught each other humility. Yes, Buzz, we're just toys. Yes, Woody, newer and better toys will always come and Andy will keep growing up. But that's okay. Our purpose is to be there for Andy when he needs us, regardless of all of that. Maybe we're all deluded in our own ways and need to be pulled back down to earth like Woody and Buzz to realize that our purpose has been in front of us all along. Of course, Woody and Buzz have overcome their internal problems for now, but their external problem is still looming. How do we get out of Sid's house and back to Andy and the rest of the gang? The important story beat that follows All Is Lost is Break Into 3, which is simply the transition between Act 2 and Act 3. And this is where our characters make a conscious choice to press on and finish what needs to be done. Through a use of clever teamwork and determination, Woody and Sid's toys scare Sid off together and rescue Buzz, but it's almost too late. Andy and his family are rolling out of the driveway in the moving van. At the end of our climactic third act, after evading Sid's monster of a pet, Scud, Woody and Buzz soar through the air dramatically towards Andy's minivan. As a final illustration of Woody and Buzz truly embracing each other and demonstrating their need for one another, they trade lines from earlier in the film, when Buzz demonstrated his ability to fly and Woody shrugged it off as falling with style.
Hey, Buzz! You're flying!
This isn't flying, this is falling with style.
Who knew a cowboy doll and spaceman action figure could teach us about humility and embracing one's true purpose? If this is your first time here at Story Laboratory and you want to see more, I invite you to subscribe and become a fellow lab rat. Thanks for watching, and remember, story is king above all movie things. movies.
Do, do, do.